What's up, everybody? My name is Steven. Thank you for clicking on this video. This video, we're going to walk you through how to do a VLOOKUP in Excel. And it doesn't matter if you got a lot of experience with Excel or very little. This video is meant for beginners, so it doesn't matter what your experience level is whatsoever. So I got a little table here, just some hockey stats. We're going to basically go through this and talk a bit about just what a VLOOKUP is, kind of how it can be used. We're actually going to walk through a demonstration here and show you how to create this from scratch and kind of talk about all the components of it and kind of what you need to do for your own usage of this on your own. So VLOOKUP is essentially a database search is what it is. So if you know what you're looking for and you know where to look for it, that being like a table, for example, you can basically search large data sets very quickly and retrieve information out of them. So let's say, for example, you're using this for work and you've got material numbers or you've got something that you need for work you have to look up in a big spreadsheet, right? So you can basically find a match based on material number. You can then look to the right of that match and you can retrieve information out of the table that you have. So let's say there's sales data with that material number, or there's descriptions of that material number, what the material actually is, or maybe where the material was sold or who sold it, etc., etc. It's basically just a way of searching through a database very quickly, or a large data set very quickly, and retrieving information instead of having to search through a whole table manually and find a match on your own. So we're going to use this example table. It's pretty small, just 30 hockey teams, and we're going to basically pull in some information from the right. But it's going to work the same way. It doesn't matter if your table is small, large, whatever. VLOOKUPs all work the same way. So we're going to start here first by just walking through the formula wizard. So you can just type this in. We can type equals VLOOKUP and write it all out. But I think meant for beginners, we're going to do the whole steps with the function wizard and talk about what all the pieces of the function are. So you follow my cursor here. So the formula bar in Excel, just to the left of that, there's a little FX button. See it here, light up in green. So that's insert function. That's essentially like the formula wizard or the function wizard, if you will. So you can click on that. So it brings up the little insert function box here. So mine is showing VLOOKUP here in the list, but if yours doesn't, you can just search for it. So you can just type in VLOOKUP and then click on Go here on the right. That'll find it, and then just click OK. So you've got 4 arguments here you have to fill out: lookup value, table array, column index number, and range lookup. So the last one here is going to be pretty straightforward. We're not going to really spend too much time on that. But the initial 3 here are going to be back to my example about if you know what you're looking for and where to look for it. That's going to be the initial 3 arguments here. So lookup value is going to be essentially what you're looking for. So let's say, for example, we want to search this table for the Pittsburgh Penguins, let's just say. So that would be our lookup value, is Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm actually going to close this out before I finish it and write this out in a more dynamic formula, because I want to show you examples where I'm typing in different team names and having it change the information so you can see how this can work more kind of dynamically as a formula. But so let's say lookup value is Pittsburgh Penguins. So now table array, and I'm going to read through this because this is going to be very important. So table array is going to look for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. So this is extraordinarily important because when you define the cell range, or kind of what your table is that you're looking for, again, lookup value is what you're looking for, and now table array is going to be where you're looking for it. So you have to basically tell Excel where to look to find a match and find your information. So it's always going to look for the leftmost column of a table to find a match. So like in this case, if our table is team names, and it is, so we're going to select A6 through F38. That's our table array, right? That's our entire table. You can also do this with using columns too. You can, if you know your information is all going to be in a organized grid all the time, you can just do columns. You can go like this, highlight A through F. It'll work the same way. But again, the key here is the leftmost column. So if our lookup value is Pittsburgh Penguins, our table array is columns A through F. The leftmost column, which is column A, is going to be where it looks to find a match, right? Where it's looking for Pittsburgh Penguins, it's going to be column A. So column A now is going to be column number 1. I'm actually going to close this out, unfortunately. I got to kind of show you this. So this is always going to be column number 1. So column number 1 is going to be where it looks up for a match, right? But then to the right of that, every column to the right is going to be just 1 more than that. So B is going to be 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5, and F is 6. So these are your column numbers. Now back to the formula wizard again. So let's say we have Pittsburgh Penguins. And the table array was our table. Or wait, no, we did columns, right? We did columns. So now let's say we want to find shots for the penguin. So that's column number 3, right? So in column index number, we put number 3. So you can already see now it's giving us a result here, right? Equals 31. So now we can test this and say, okay, so column number 3, or column 3, Pittsburgh Penguins, 31, right? So this is already working correctly even without filling out the last piece. But this is, you still got to fill this out anyway. So range lookup is going to be a true-false scenario. So essentially it's going to say that to find the closest match, put true. To find an exact match, put false. I've been using vlookups for well over a decade, and I have never used true. I've always used false. I want to find an exact match when I'm searching for things, especially like what I do for work. I search a lot of like, material numbers or inventory numbers, things like that, things that are very unique and very specific. So true is no good. So I put false here. But that's it though. This is all there is to it. But you have to understand though, again, what you're looking for and where to look for it. And you got to tell it exactly what to retrieve. So in this case, we chose shots for in column 3. But let's say we want to look for, shots against in column D. So now we got to put 4 in there. And now you see this result changes. So now if we go to Pittsburgh Penguins, column 4, it's 40, right? That's what it's pulling out of the table now. So again, I mentioned I'm going to actually write this out to make it more dynamic. So let's close this. And let's just write this out now as a formula. So let's say lookup value is Pittsburgh Penguins. Now we'll define everything else. But now this field here now is going to be kind of our dynamic cell where we can change and type any team in that we want. So now let's go in here and write the formula. So bring up our formula wizard here again, vlookup. So we'll actually now reference our cell there of Pittsburgh Penguins. And best practice is always to lock your cells. Click F4. Table array is again just our whole table. So we'll select the columns. And now let's say we want to do, column 3, shots for. So 3, false. Click OK. So now we get our 31 here again as well, right? So we were seeing it in the formula wizard. It was showing us a result of 31. So we knew this was working, but now we can actually see it here. And now what we can do is actually use this more dynamically and change our lookup value. So if right now we're doing Pittsburgh Penguins, let's now change this to be, let's say, the Tampa Bay Lightning, for example. You'll see that vlookup cell will change. So see how now it's 23? Because now what it's doing is looking in column A for a match, finding the Lightning, right, our lookup value. And then we're telling it column 3, which is right here. So it's going to be right there, 23. So that's how it works, guys. It's really no more complicated than that. The only difference is more like probably the tables you're using are probably more elaborate, right? A lot more rows and columns and data to look through. But really, that's the gist of a VLOOKUP. It's just a quick way of searching through large data sets and finding a match and retrieving data out of it. So what I use it an awful lot for and what I do for work is I might have like 2 or 3 sources of data with like one unique field, let's say like a material number, inventory number, something like that. But I got 3 different sources of data with all different information off of those inventory numbers. So I want to create like one master table, right? Inventory number and all the fields to the right of that. And I can use VLOOKUP to pull in all those fields from the 3 different sources of tables that I have and create basically one master table to use for analysis purposes or whatever else. So this is a very effective tool and one that I think is anymore probably pretty much a basic Excel skill, or maybe not basic, but one that's kind of minimum requirement anymore to do things. I know a lot of people that really don't know how to do this, but they all want to learn is the thing. So I think that's kind of the point of making this video. Is I think it's a very effective tool that everyone is interested in and wants to learn. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. We'll now go through a little bit of just kind of some of the errors you'll run into doing these VLOOKUPs. So probably a common one you've seen is like the pound NA errors. There's also pound reference errors. We'll walk through those and kind of show you how those can come about and how you can resolve them. So pound NA is just going to really mean like no match, but unfortunately in Excel, and I don't want to get into this is just a nightmare. If your formatting is off, let's say like something is not formatted as a number, for example, you can get a pound NA error. So you got to mess around with your formatting and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to bother with that. It's complete and total nightmare. But I will show you just kind of what a no match looks like. So let's say, for example, we misspelled Tampa Bay Lightning, right? So we set this as true, right? If you look in our formula wizard again, we set this as range lookup is false. Sorry, false, not true. But we want to tell it to find an exact match. because that means we can't have any typos in here. So if we misspell this and say Tampa Bay Lightning, 2 G's, now we get an A, right? Because there is no Tampa Bay Lightning in this table. There's only the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that's one way that it can come about. Another way too could be like hidden spaces as well. So let's say, for example, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning. We spell it correctly. Whoops. Wow. Okay, so we spell it correctly, but now we have kind of a hidden space at the end, right? That can cause an error as well. And so I think this is most commonly found is not so much in the lookup value having a space, but rather the table itself, because quite often you'll be exporting data out of like a database that you don't maintain, you don't affect it. You know, it's usually quite often human data entry that builds the information. Maybe someone put a space in there or something that wasn't meant to be there. So that's something where you can get tripped up on this as well, is, you know, maybe everything looks like it's matching, but you've got kind of a hidden space in your table somewhere. That'll cause you an error as well. So another one here is going to be the reference error. So let me just fix this. So the reference error is going to be basically where you're looking for information that's outside of your table array, right? Basically, you've told it to look in a certain cell range, and now you're telling it, well, find me a match that's outside of that range. That'll cause a reference error. So let me demonstrate. So in here we had column 3, which is within our range, shots 4. We told it to find that information, and it did, right? It found 23. So our table array is going to be just 6 columns, right? A through F. So if we go anything more than 6 in column index number, it'll give us a reference error. So let's do 7, for example. I'll see how it's showing equals nothing. Well, now if we hit OK, now we get the pound reference error. So that's all that means. It basically just means that you're looking for something that you did not tell it to look for, pretty much. You're looking outside of the range. That's all that means. So this is a pretty easy one to fix. It's just, you know, you go into your formula wizard here, look at your array. You know, maybe in some cases maybe you've added columns to this, and so now you're trying to basically tell it, okay, yeah, find me, you know, column 10, but you haven't told the range to include column 10. That's quite often all this is. It's pretty simple to resolve. So again, we'll just set this back to within the range of within 6. So we'll say 5, and that resolves the reference error. So we're going to conclude the video there, guys. Again, very beginner, very basic. The whole point of this video is just meant for beginners, trying to show you how to just build this and show you how it works. I do intend on doing more sophisticated, kind of more elaborate versions of this going forward. I do a lot of data. I'm using hockey stats here, for example. But I do a lot of stuff here with like hockey stats, and like I can try to automate it in spreadsheets, so I can just basically export out of a source and just dump it into Excel and have it just update automatically for me. So that takes a lot of kind of more, you know, elaborate Excel work to kind of, you know, work around some of those issues. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.